All right, welcome everybody. Jonah Platt is my guest today, host of Being Jewish. The man has also been on Broadway in Wicked. I mean, the guy is connected to Hollywood. He's produced his own films as well. He is the dad of 3, married. He's got a fertility journey. He's a Jewish activist, talks about being Jewish. Big, of course, advocate for everything that is happening in Israel right now. Hopefully, God, we're getting some sort of moving to a peace agreement, but we'll discuss all that. I feel like we're going to have some Hollywood stories. Did you hang out with Ariana Grande and the boyfriend? I mean, where do we start, Jonah?
Oh, God, that's up to you. That's what a smorgasbord of options there.
I know, right? Okay, well, let's talk a little pop culture, and then I want to get into all your amazing activism.
Let's do it.
Listened to your podcast, which is very informative.
Thank you.
Okay, you kind of grew up in a Hollywood family. I mean, is this true? Your father actually produced Wicked the film?
Yes, and the musical.
And the musical on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's that like? Like, is your dad like in a room writing all the time?
No, so he's the producer. He's not the writer.
Oh, that's true.
And when I was growing up, he was mostly, for most of my childhood, an executive at different studios.
Okay.
So very much, the business back end side of Hollywood, not so much the glamorous whatever. Right. And then he finally became an independent producer right when I was in high school, which had always been his dream and what he'd been working towards all of his career. And, brick by brick, he built his amazing career that he's had. And, he's brought one incredible original Broadway musical really to Broadway, and it happened to be Wicked.
What a hit. Yeah, I mean,
it's all you need is one.
All you need is one hit,
and he got the one, and
it.
it's unbelievable. I mean, I was listening to demos of songs in the car, on the way to school in 2003 or whatever it was, 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know. What a hit. And that movie's just been so talked about over the past,
The movie was awesome. It was great. And, as you mentioned, I was in Wicked on Broadway.
Yeah, tell me.
So I'm part of the Wicked extended family, which the alumni of Shiz, as we call ourselves a bit, is huge. It's this really cool club to be a part of. And the movie, already you're nervous because, movie musical adaptations are a tricky beast. A lot of them stink.
I know. They're hard to translate.
And there's the personal connection as having been in it. And then, of course, it's my dad. So we're hoping it's going to be great. And objectively, they crushed it. I mean, it was I think it's one of, if not the best musical adaptations ever. I loved it. I thought they did everything I would look for in an adaptation. They nailed. And it's just been so exciting to see the response and how much part of the culture it's been. And it's so pervasive. It's wow, what a moment.
I know. Were you and your family as thrilled with the promotion as we all were with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, holding each other's nails and fingers? I mean, you
certainly a lot of family group chatter about these. I mean, all kinds of Wicked memes going in the family group chat at all times.
They did a fantastic job, right? I mean, your objection,
You're talking
Hollywood,
about it.
Right? We're talking about it, right? Which is what you want. And actually, it was fairly good chatter, which is
rare. It was very endearing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What was it like? How long was your run on Broadway in Wicked?
A year.
Oh, that's a lot, though. I mean, because
350 shows I did.
Damn, that's such a. I know. You really have to love it. That's never a job that I've ever wanted. I'm I really enjoy having.
You have to really, really want to do it no matter what. I'm going to sort of quote Jackie Tone, who's an actress who I had on my podcast, who's on that show Nobody Wants This.
Oh yeah,
the Netflix show. She's amazing. She's basically her approach was either I'm going to succeed at this or I'm going to fail at this, but this is what I'm doing. And you have to have that mentality if you're going to do this at all. You have to be willing to be I might be absolutely miserable and failing and making no money forever, but this is the only thing I love and I want to do.
And you played, oh my gosh, I'm going to say the name wrong. Is it
Go.
Fiero?
So close. You're just missing one syllable. Fiero. I was what's this going to be?
Yeah, no, I know. People in this podcast know me for my lack of pronunciation. It's really terrible. I've never mastered the English language. I can never.
It's not even English. He's a winky prince, so I don't even know what language that is.
Okay, well, thank God. Fiero, thank God. Okay, so you played Fiero, and was that it though for you? After you did the year run, were you this is so much on the mind, the body, I'm good with Broadway, or you kind of that was the dream?
A little of both. So obviously, I loved doing it. The choice to end after a year is really sort of the way that show operates. They like to get new people in the
Oh,
leads in and out to keep it fresh, and people are coming back. People don't really stay in there for too much longer of chunks than that.
mm.
I was also definitely ready to stop doing it after 350 times. It was I came at just the right time where you get you get 1 week off after 6 months. So first you have to do it 6 months straight with no break.
Really?
And when that week comes, you're like, get me the hell out of here. I need this vacation so badly. I'm gonna blow my brains out. Then you get your break, and it's like a perfect refresh. You're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm on Broadway. This is great. And then like the next 6 months go, and like just before it gets to that point again, you're like, oh, my run is wrapping up. I'm gonna miss this. I'm so excited. So it's like perfect timing, and that was great. And I've tried to audition for stuff, and I've been a part of shows that have tried to make their way to Broadway, which is generally, unless you're joining a show already running, like Wicked, you're
Yeah.
trying to get into a new one that you hope is going to make its way. And I've been involved in a couple of those, but they haven't made it. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a tough game.
We're in a tough business. Although you've
Yeah.
sort of transitioned to the podcast world, which is tough, but maybe a little bit more promising right now. So you got good timing.
I'm certainly more in control of my own destiny. Let's put it that way.
Right?
Yeah.
So tell me about your podcast. I've been listening, being Jewish.
Yeah.
It's pretty new, launched in
Yes.
2024.
In October, yeah. So it's only, I just recorded episode
Yeah.
20 on Tuesday.
What made you want to launch it?
So I had been doing Jewish advocacy stuff online mostly, kind of since 2021, and had been ramping up as needed, let's say, over the last couple years.
Yeah.
But always, my focus was entertainment, and this was sort of like the hobby, the side thing when I had time. Then October 7th happened, and I found myself wanting to just pour my energy into the Jewish world. I wanted to
Yeah.
be engaging with people. I want to be educating people. I want to be comforting people. I wanted to be thinking about and talking about these things. And in like January, February of 24, I was like, I think I want to start a podcast where I can sort of expand on what I'm doing online and be able to sort of really target my mission
Mm.
if I have one, let's say. And I would say the mission of the show is really there's like a couple branches. One is to just normalize Jewish people talking about Jewish stuff.
Yeah.
There's this like weird fear about it, or that it's like political or controversial or lame or scholarly, but it's just
No,
like
okay, that's fascinating to me. So wait, within the Jewish community, there's kind of a thing like where people don't really talk about being Jewish. Because you're just afraid that
you're
if
afraid.
you're out and sort of talking
Yeah.
about it, people are going to be more anti-Semitic, right?
Yes,
Is that sort of the
that's
okay.
sort of the vibe.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't that
and
interesting? I mean, October 7th really did that, didn't that? I feel though as Jewish, a lot of my Jewish friends, and I mean, everybody I know is Jewish, but I feel like they really did become almost more courageous in being who they are, wearing the Star of David,
Yeah.
letting people, I mean, you hate to see something so awful like that happen for people to really put it out there, but it does seem that
Yeah.
way. It feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, you see a little of both sides of that, and you see some people who are
Mm.
so sort of leaning more into the fear that they're putting their Star of David necklace away
Yeah.
because they think they're going to get shit for it. But thankfully, you have seen more of the other side, which is people coming out, being more loud and proud, and realizing, like, sort of like that the slumbering giant has been woken a little bit. Like, we were sort of coasting, didn't realize we had all these issues, and now we do, and we need to like claim our space and our identity. And
Yeah.
so I wanted the show to be able to really empower people to do just that by seeing somebody like me having conversations with really prominent, notable Jews and non-Jewish allies in all these different fields, to see us talking about this stuff and getting real and honest and sharing our own problems and what different industries are looking like for Jews right now, just to create a sense of empowerment that like, oh, I can have these conversations too. I can be loud and proud. I can come out of the closet too as a Jew and feel confident and feel like I have this community here and feel supported. And then there's also just the educational piece. Like, I'm not, this isn't PBS, but we talk about stuff that people can learn from. And, I have a large number of non-Jews who listen to the show. I have a lot of non-Jewish guests on, for people who are, kind-hearted people who want to understand this more. And they're like, I'm hearing all this other stuff. This doesn't quite make sense to me. I want to get it, from the Jewish point of view and understand more what my friends are going through and what the full situation is. And so that's been really rewarding.
Are you more hopeful since October 7th? I think my Jewish friends were not very hopeful when that attack first happened, and then seeing all the anti-Semitism on campuses across the country. And I think, everybody's for, like, sure, if you want to protest for people and humanity, that, but they hated seeing the, Jewish kids at Columbia being blocked from buildings, being too afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane, right? But then I do feel that people really spoke out against that, called out how insane that was that these universities did it. We know university presidents lost their jobs over
Yeah.
it, some. Do you feel like it was effective? And we have this peace deal, right? More of the hostages are being released. Unfortunately, we lost too many. I mean, heartbreak. I
Hmm.
can't even imagine being kidnapped from a music festival. I don't even know what I would do. It doesn't seem real, but it's
Yeah.
real.
Big time.
Are you where are you at as a Jewish person? Like, do you think it came full circle that people came out and supported and called out the bullshit and it's better? Or do you feel like no?
So I would say there has definitely been improvement. I think that's fair to say that, from the peak of demonstrations and full-throated hate and, vandalism, all of that stuff, I do think things have cooled. I honestly think, and I didn't vote for the guy, but I think Donald Trump coming in has had sort of a cooling effect on some of that stuff because his administration has put the fear in a lot of these universities that they're, going to go after these endowments and come for their funding. So they better get in line. And
Yeah.
you saw, Columbia and Harvard both, passed new resolutions and are taking care of some business. And they've been two of the worst universities. I don't think they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. I think they're doing it because they're scared, but which is great.
Yeah,
I'll take it,
yeah.
Um,
As you know, it's so motivated by money and the threat of funding going away.
Exactly.
I agreed, right? I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah.
they're not going to do shit,
Yeah.
quite frankly. But if
Yeah.
there's $1 billion on the line, which so many of these universities have as an endowment, of course, all of a sudden, yes, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. While Biden was in power, the Department of Education was reaching out to a lot of these schools and trying to implement new stuff. And that's why I think, in the fall of this year, when you think about what the spring of last year was like, it's kind of like night and day. I mean, it was insanity last spring on college campuses, and it's
Yeah.
much quieter in general
Yeah.
now. So that's very encouraging to see. I don't think all of a sudden, like, oh, anti-Jew bigotry's gone now. It's like, it's definitely out and about and way more present than it's been in my lifetime. But we're also more out and about, more aware of it. And, as you
Yeah,
mentioned,
and as
and
BLM, right? I mean, that same thing. I think really people spoke up a few years ago with that when that movement was at its height, saying, racism really still does exist. We
right.
see it, and same thing.
What's interesting is, so many of the people who participated in that are sort of the perpetrators of the anti-Jewish bigotry that's happening now.
I know that's a
You know?
sad. Yeah, that's sad.
It's sad.
What's your philosophical life take on that?
I, propaganda is a powerful tool,
Yeah.
and it's really powerful because you don't know when it's working on you. And it's very, it's when you're brainwashed, you don't know you're brainwashed because your brain is washed. And we're seeing a lot of that where people feel that they are experts in a topic because they watched a couple of, influencers and Instagram accounts say some stuff about it, and that they now have been empowered by their peer group and the other people in their circle and people they maybe look up to, public figures, to be experts on a topic they really know absolutely nothing about because of this, the binary oppressor oppressed sort of framework that kids are being taught so much in school today,
Yeah.
which doesn't apply to this situation at all.
What do you think's been the most damaging propaganda against the Jewish community?
I mean, I would say at this point, the number one thing is that there's a genocide happening in Gaza. That has been, it's like the number one bullet that anti-Israel folks use, is that there's a genocide and that Jews are trying to wipe out Palestinians just out of the villainy in their hearts, which is, couldn't be further from the truth and completely ignores all real world context of why what's happening is happening. And it's just, I compare it to like being able to light a bag of dog shit on fire, put it on somebody's doorstep, ring the doorbell, and run away. That's what you kind of can do when you say genocide, and then you can like light the dog shit and run. Now I have to like explain myself. I have to give you facts. I have to clean shit up. I have to do all this. And all you had to do was lob that one word at me. And now I look like a monster,
And for people listening that say, well, he's wrong. There is still a genocide and kids are being murdered. We've seen the images. We know that, Israel, the government, not the people, but has withheld food. Okay, what is it that we're missing? What is it that people aren't seeing?
I think people are seeing terrible images, as you are discussing, and they feel terrible and they feel that's wrong. And they go, I want that to stop. I understand that. But the horrors of warfare, especially in a war where the primary strategy of one side, that being Hamas, is to put civilians specifically and purposefully into harm's way, then hide literally under them in tunnels that no one else is allowed to go in
hospitals
and
all
in
the
hospitals and in school, very purposefully to draw fire there so that people go, oh my God, those genocidal Jews trying to kill everybody in the hospital. Meanwhile, there's like literally terror tunnels in the hospital.
Yeah.
And you would think people could grasp that, but again, people they're only getting this one steady drip of this propaganda don't understand the whole picture.
Yeah. Right. Do you think that aspect of it has shifted? Meaning more people, whether in Gaza or the United States, do you think they are blaming Hamas more, especially seeing like this barbaric way they deliver the hostages? It's so like, Stone Ages with them in these, outfits that look like they're fighting the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And right?
The foot soldiers,
the
like
foot
the
soldiers.
Klan.
Right?
That's funny,
it's like they kind of look like that. And they're all over the place.
I was thinking about that today. I was like, wanting to, like, if you did a side by side of like an Israeli soldier and Hamas soldier, like one is like a young, vibrant girl with like long nails, like smiling, and one is a dude dressed like a Ninja Turtles foot soldier with his face covered. It's just crazy. Do I think Gaza? Look, you're seeing the same images as I am. They don't look too upset with Hamas to me. It looks quite celebratory. And I think as they view it, it's a big win for them. They're getting a bunch of their people freed. Murderers and terrorists are coming out of prison. The fighting is stopped. It looks from their side probably pretty good.
Well, I have to imagine too, from them, it's like the Taliban too, where like, they're probably terrified. Like you have to.
Oh, no, there is that too.
You're terrified of Hamas. So it's
they're
like if you don't
they're the mafia.
Right. They're a mafia, right? I mean, they're going to kill your family. They're going to kill, so it's like you've got to seem, like you're happy about it.
A good friend of mine had the opportunity to go into Gaza way before this. This was years ago. And he met a Palestinian, an older man who said, you want to know what Hamas is? I'll tell you what Hamas is. These Hamas guys came to my son's home where they all live together. You get a lot of multi-generational families there, and said, we want to use the roof of your home to shoot rockets off of. And the son said no. So they left. Then they came back the next day with more guys. And they said to the older man, either you kill your son or we're going to kill your whole family. And so the man had to kill his own son to save the rest of the family. And that's Hamas. Yeah.
Okay. Last question on this, and then we'll move on to something lighter.
Yeah, please.
Although I'm fascinated by world issues all the time. I enjoy all this. I like politics. I enjoy hearing. Okay. We have this sort of temporary peace deal. We've been here many times before, right?
Yeah.
And President Clinton came so close to brokering a deal that, Yasser Arafat pulled out of. But where's your mind at? Where's the Jewish community at with President Trump, who actually seems to have support, by the way? He got all the, votes in Dearborn, Michigan, big Muslim community.
But those people were basically like, we're not going to support the Democrats who are genocide enablers. And so they vote for Donald Trump, who's like, okay, great. Now I'm going to do it,
maybe the biggest genocide.
It's like if you thought that the Biden administration was too supportive of Israel, I don't know why you voted for Donald Trump. It's kind of crazy. And they're all like, we can't believe this is happening now. It really was insane that they did that. They kind of handed it to him.
Well, he has that way.
You know?
I mean, people are really fed up, right? They're fed up with the traditional politics. They really
Yes.
don't believe either side, really. I mean, anyway, that's another question. But how are you more hopeful with this administration? Do you think a deal can be done? Certainly, President Trump says that he's going to get one done, which we've heard. I mean,
Right.
he loves
I mean,
the art of the deal.
I love that. Like, I know he wants his Nobel Peace Prize. It's always a self-serving thing. This is legitimate.
Can you imagine? That'll actually probably happen.
Barack Obama won one, and I'm not sure what he did to earn that. It's like, if Donald Trump can solve the Middle East and get a peace prize, like, give it to him.
Well, but I always tell people this: Osama bin Laden, President Obama did fulfill and kill Osama bin Laden. I thought that was a big deal. I don't know. No one else.
No, that was great. I remember that day. That day was awesome.
The mission, I was like, yeah, get that motherfucker.
Yeah, that was great.
So he's, though that's probably
cool.
inspired more ISIS. But
I love that. I know Trump wants that. He's like been vocal about it. So I think he's gonna like continue to really pursue this in a meaningful way because he wants that prize.
He'll get it
it's all about the
win.
vanity.
It is.
So honestly, the line he's taking and the fact that his support for Israel is so strong, in a way, not to say that Biden's wasn't, but there was the on the surface it was wishy-washy. I mean, they would say things and withhold things to try to manipulate or push Israel to do what they wanted them to do. Trump's able to just sort of go in there and say, hey, do what I want you to do. And he does it quietly, and they listen to him, and things move. And he doesn't have to hang Israel out to dry to get it to happen. So maybe something conclusive can happen. It's really hard to say. They'll have to be, as you mentioned, we've been here before, right? So something's going to have to be different this time.
I know, hopefully.
And it seems like what it has to be is a stronger hand against Hamas. If you allow it to just rebuild itself, it's going to go on forever. I mean, after World War II, America didn't be like, okay, great, we won the war, let's go home. Like, they stayed in Japan, they stayed in Germany, and they like made those societies rebuild under Western ideals and denazified things and changed their public education system and their commerce and economy and, oriented things in a productive way. And now, those are two of our greatest allies.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do something like that if you want this to change at all. It's going to have to take that level of shift.
We're known for hard 180s on our show. So
let's do it.
I hear that you have the same trainer as Justin Baldoni.
That is true.
How's that for a 180? Okay. We're going in a different direction, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I just came from him.
How did you figure this out? How did you figure out that what would like Baldoni come in after you? You'd come in after Baldoni?
No, my trainer mostly trains actors.
Okay.
That's like his thing. He trained everybody on the new Superman movie. He's awesome. He's great.
Okay, so you hold the same trainer. Now, do you know Justin Baldoni at all?
I don't. I think he lives in like Ojai or something. Like, he doesn't live in the city.
Yeah, I think
he lives outside of LA. So
does.
whenever I think they do a lot of like virtual training, or when he comes in, it's kind of few and far between because he's got to like drive an hour and a half to get here. I don't know, but it's a great trainer.
Everybody trains on Zoom now. It's
so
a thing. Funny that you said.
I know.
Like 5 people.
He trains people on Zoom all the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you following this story at all? I mean, this is sort of like a juicy. First of all, I feel like it's better than some television right now. It's like, it's amazing in Hollywood. There's so many aspects of this. You're like, why is this happening? What's the real motive? I mean, maybe she's 100% telling the truth and the guy's sexually harassing her. I don't know.
The part to me that was crazy was like the New York Times complicity in like doctoring text message photos, right? I mean, that to me is crazy and just sort of continues to point toward the slow slide into illegitimacy of the New York Times.
I know.
But it's wild. Like, the layers that just keep being unveiled in this story are crazy. And he's just suing people left and right. And it seems like they're all going down.
I know. Do you know Brian Friedman? I'm trying to get him on the show.
No, who's Brian Friedman?
He's the lawyer of Justin Baldoni, who I think is a genius.
I mean, he's coming home with something in his pocket.
He's like the guy just like has got the greatest strategy. I mean, the poor guy lost his home in the Palisades. It burned flat, and that hasn't like slowed him down a second. He's like releasing voicemails and video. I mean, I'm like,
just more and
hasn't
more
missed
data.
A beat.
Here, take a look at it. Here it is. Like, we've got it all. The evidence is the evidence. They've got so much stuff.
The stakes I feel are high in this story because the media is already been so discredited on all sides, and just so untrustworthy. And I think if they lose this, I mean, really, I will never. Let's be honest. My husband has a subscription, but I don't even read the New York Times. So full disclosure. But you know what I'm saying? It's like if they lose this. I mean, that really shows you that they essentially were fed this by her.
Yeah.
Did this for her almost as probably a favor because she's well connected. And I mean, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that
Yeah.
going to be fucking nuts? Like that.
I
Editor would
hope
do
people
this?
will care. I hope that people go like, wow, I can't trust them anymore. I mean,
I will, Jonah.
people have been feeling that way about them for a long time, especially within the Jewish community,
I
the way
know.
they cover the
You all-
Israel-Gaza stuff. Look, I still have a subscription. A lot of people have canceled it, but I read the New York Times with a grain of salt always. Like that, I don't take their coverage of Donald Trump as objective. The way that they're framing everything, like basically, here's why this guy's terrible, and I understand that. So when I read it, I'm thinking, okay, here's the clearly biased left perspective of this issue, and that's how I read a lot of their stuff. I think we have to, sadly, like that is the new normal for most media, is you have to read it knowing what their bias is, that they're not just like totally trustworthy public institutions that we can take everything they say at face value.
God, that's
They
so
have their own
disheartening.
motivation. They're human beings. They're not these like monolithic celestial infinite objects. They're
Yeah.
just people, and some of these people are schmucks and hooking people up with a favor at the expense of telling the news.
Do you have a feeling about this story or a side yet? I mean, we don't probably have all the information. We got a trial date. A lot can happen. She may have these smoking gun things that no one's seen, where it's like, oh, well, this seems clear that he's a harasser. You don't know, right?
Yeah.
But certainly you've been on movie sets and around it, and what? I mean, do you have a take on this story?
I'm such an evidence kind of guy. I'm not
Yeah.
like a behavior hearsay.
Oh, you're not like
whatever.
us here on the Sarah Fraser show. We're like, what's the gossip this week?
Do you ever
What's
watch the
the
show?
tea?
Speaking of like pop culture, do you watch the show Traitors?
No, I haven't been, which everybody loves and is
So
obsessed with.
I love Traitors.
Okay.
And like what gets me so mad is when people are accusing other people. They're like, your energy shifted in the room. And I'm like, that's not evidence. That is not a reason to blame somebody for something. That is crazy.
It's so where we are.
It's
isn't
so arrogant to me that like my sense of someone's energy is like good enough for me to accuse them of being a villain. Like that is insane. So I judge people based on like evidence and like behavior that I can point to and be like, look at what this person did. The evidence seems to support Baldoni's account of everything. So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to doubt that unless, as you say, like she's got some other evidence we haven't seen yet. I just, if that exists, why haven't we seen it yet?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, who do you like on Traitors? Who do you want to be?
I love Traitors.
Are
I just rewatched season 2 because I hadn't watched that. So I caught up on that, and that
Okay.
was really fun. I'm a big Survivor's my favorite show of all time.
I heard this about you, and my husband has never missed a season. Like he's obsessed.
Okay,
I hear you
I
want
do a
to.
pool every year. He should be in my pool.
Oh my God, he needs. My husband is like
I've got former
diehard.
real Survivor champions in my pool.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I definitely want to be on Survivor.
Okay, I need to put you two in touch.
Great.
And I keep saying to my husband, like, go do it. And he's like, I don't know if I could be away from you guys for, I think it's 30 days.
It's
or
less now.
40.
It's like 27 days
I'm
or
like,
something.
do
They
it.
made it shorter. Now they made it shorter. I'm like, I got to do this.
You got to.
I really want to.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Survivor former players who do Traitors, which is really fun. So I'm kind of always pulling for the Survivor people. So this season of Traitors, this classic Survivor legend, Boston Rob, is
Yep.
on it. And he's so fun to watch because, like, on the one hand, he's so good, and on the other hand, everyone knows how good he is. So it's like dangerous for him to be as good as he is, and he's not quite figured out yet how to navigate that. So sometimes he's sort of too good for his own good now that he's such this legend. He can't slip through the cracks anymore. But you can't help but love the guy, and you root for him. He's just like a guy you love to root for. He's Boston Rob, so it's fun watching him. And Zac Efron's brother, I think his name is Dylan, is on it.
Yes.
Dylan. My wife, every time he comes on, I was like, oh, he's so cute. He's like such a sweet looking guy and seems like just like a sweet person. And he's one of the shows, there's faithfuls and there are traitors. So you don't know who the traitors are, and 3 of them are lying to you, and they're murdering a different person every night. It's like a game of mafia, and you're trying to guess who it is. And Dylan is a like pure faithful, and you just like are rooting for him and you want him to win. He's one of the only people who's actually been good at pointing out traitors, and he's a sweet dude.
Okay, so that's who you're going for. That's who you're rooting for.
Yeah, I don't want to root. I root for the people who are like good at playing the game.
Yeah.
I get annoyed with the people who are like, your energy shifted. I think it was you.
Is that all the housewives that have been? Because Dorinda's gone. She's been Robin Dixon.
Robin. No, this was her name's like Chrisella. She's from Selling Sunset.
Chriselle from Selling Sunset.
Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one who she voted out. Spoiler alert! This was the last week. She kicked out her best friend on the show because she thought her best friend must be a traitor because, quote, her energy shifted. She's like, I'm really good at reading people's energy. Your energy shift. She was crying. She was like, your energy shifted. I just think it's you. And the chick was like, yeah, it wasn't me. And she's out.
Okay, well, Chriselle's next. Okay,
Yeah.
she's gone. Okay, so you guys like traitors. What else are you watching? We love a lot of TV on this show. What are you?
I'm so busy right now that like I really can only do one show at a time. I'm excited for it's funny. It's like I guess I really only watch these days reality and like competition stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Top Chef, I'm waiting to come back.
Okay.
That comes back in March. That's one of my favorites. Severance is my favorite series on Apple.
I feel like I've seen this. Oh, I've seen
It's
this.
with Adam
kind
Scott.
Of weird.
It's weird.
Yes, it's very bizarre. They're like in this office,
Yes.
but then
It's a really interesting I like stuff like if I'm gonna watch something, I want it to be something I've never seen before and something that's like really trying to genre bend.
Yeah.
I haven't started season 2 yet. It just came back like a week or two ago. So I'm definitely getting it. I loved season 1. I've been waiting. It's been like 2 years since season 1. Ben Stiller directs it. He's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, they're able to split their personal life and their work life, and they're not aware of each other. And you just start to find out all this insidious stuff that's going on that the work person is not aware of happening in the real life, and the real life guy not aware of happening in the work life. It's just super unique.
Yeah. Severance is a really good one. I just started Paradise. Have you heard that on Hulu?
Is that with Sterling K. Brown?
Yeah, the guy.
I've seen many ads for it on something.
We'll see how that goes. It's first episode was really fascinating with a little twist at the end, but I'm with you. I like something that makes you think, you know?
Yeah. Who else is on that show? I know he's on it, but there's like other great people too.
You know the woman.
Is it James Marsden too?
God.
Something else.
No, I like, if you ask me who all of Teresa Giudice's friends are, I'd know. But like, you ask me all the actors, I'm like,
all right, don't worry about it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know all their faces.
Yeah. And it's tough now because like every TV series now is like 10 Emmy and Oscar winning actors in it.
I know.
So it doesn't even like stand out anymore. Good. I'm like, I can't believe the people. It's like this show has Morgan Freeman and Nicole Kidman in it. And I'm like, what the hell? These guys are doing random Amazon Prime series now?
All of
it's
them.
like everybody.
Yeah, everybody. God, oh my God, so rude.
Who is it?
My friend Joyce.
What's up, Joyce?
Joyce is awesome.
Shout out to Joyce.
A lot of family drama. Well, it's all good, but my favorite uncle passed away 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
And then I'm the executor of his will with my brother, and it's a disaster. Yeah, I'm going to be
like,
doing a will podcast of everything not that my uncle did wrong here.
That's so stressful.
It's so stressful when you're grieving someone and then
and you have to deal
by
with
the way, their finances are fucked up. You're like, oh, why did you do this to me? Yes. Yeah. It's brutal.
It's a
like,
lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. So thankfully he has wonderful friends that are like calling and helping us through this whole process. But no, I'm getting a will sponsor, a state attorney sponsorship for life, because I'm like, here's everything. Please do not do this to your family.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just awful when it's not buttoned up. Thank you. He was amazing. Loved everything on Broadway. Loved everything we're talking about. So all in his memory. But I wanted to talk to you about one other thing before I let you go. You're very open as a man and as a dad about your family journey with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife has MS. You guys, do you have 3 kids now, or
no,
a third is coming?
The third is on the way.
Third is on the way via surrogate, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us like about this. Like, how did your wife end up finding out she had MS, and she carried like your first 2 children? But
I'll give you the spiel.
Yeah, give me the spiel.
So she got diagnosed before we ever met. She got diagnosed very young. She was in like her early 20s.
Wow.
She was a professional dancer for a long time, and she was dancing and like couldn't feel her leg and like went blind in one eye. She was like, okay, I think something's wrong. So she went and got diagnosed, and it was MS, which, she has very much under control right now, thank God. Like no one would know she has it except for me. because I see,
That's
what she is when she's at
amazing.
home and has to, let everything down. But generally, you would have no idea, which is amazing. So we're very grateful, and the medicine just keeps getting better and better. So our first
Oh,
child, we
so
just got
great.
super lucky on. I was doing a play in San Francisco, and she like came up to visit for the weekend. We went to Napa. We drank a bunch of Newton unfiltered Chardonnay. We went back to the hotel. I said, "Let's make a baby," and we got pregnant.
Perfect.
We almost named him Chardonnay.
As you should
Yeah,
have.
right. So that was amazing. And so that was how my son was born. And then my wife, she got a little cocky. So she was like, the first one was so easy. Like the second one's going to be easy too. And so it wasn't. And to get pregnant, to like even prepare, she has to come off all of her medicine, all her MS medicine.
Wow.
She takes a lot of different medicines to
Sure.
just help her manage her symptoms and whatever. And it didn't happen right away. And I had been worried this was going to happen and wanted to do it in a sort of a more controlled way, but she was a little overconfident. And like 4 months went by and she was just feeling like crap.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, we got to do IVF so that we can like control it. You can go back on your medicine. We can we don't have to be guessing and waiting.
Yeah.
So my daughter was born via IVF, but my as you said, my wife still carried her. But it's just such a rough time on her body, and she has to stay off the medicine even postpartum because with breastfeeding you can't be on the medicine. So just like over a year, she's like feeling like shit.
Oh my God, that
And
is so much carrying a
it's
child
brutal.
and then
Already,
having
yeah.
some sort of, other underlying issue.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so taxing on you when things
So
are great,
taxing.
like just your breathing. And with you guys, every year you get older. I mean, it's just
Right,
so much
sure.
against you. I mean,
Mhm.
we're
and
meant to.
and both my kids were C-sections, so it's like there's a
That's
surgery
hard
recovery
too.
after it.
Yes.
And she's like, the baby's born and she's like drugged out, whatever. So this time, very early on, we were like, let's just do a surgery. I was, I don't know if I brought it up or she brought it up, but very on board and supportive right away that like, don't do this to yourself again.
Yeah.
And we, gathered the research, and then we have the like most amazing fertility doctor. And she was like, okay, you're going to call this person, you're going to use this lawyer, you're going to go to these people, blah, 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 blah. And she set us up with amazing people, and we've been in great hands ever since.
How'd you pick? Because I was telling you this, my husband and I are doing an egg donor,
Right.
and how did you choose? And we went back and we probably picked, I'm going to say like 4 donors prior. One we really liked, but she was the same genetic carrier for an
Something.
issue that my husband was. So she was out. Then the second one, I think she didn't have really enough eggs. So it was almost like you'd buy a few of her eggs and then you could try to pay to have her do another cycle, but it wasn't, so that didn't work. Then the third one we really liked, but she was 6 feet tall with dark hair. And we're like, well, our son is like blonde. We are both under 6 foot. Does this make, okay, maybe this she'll really stand out, this child, this baby. So then we ended up, we go with our fourth one. But surrogate is, you really are leaving a lot in another human and their mind and stability's hands. How'd you all choose?
So, we had certain criteria that were the most important things to us.
Sure.
I'd say one of those was proximity.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted somebody, it's very important to me to be at the birth of my child.
Yeah.
As, I was for my first 2. I watched them get pulled head first out of my wife's stomach like Alien.
No,
And cut
Keep
the
that
umbilical
sheet up.
cords. So like we wanted somebody who's within a 2-hour drive of LA. So that was one thing. The second was we wanted a second-time surrogate, which they're more expensive. They're more in demand because they've proven they can do it. So physically, they can do it. Mentally, they can do it.
And they give over the baby without any drama. I mean,
Exactly,
they legally
mentally, that's what I
sign
mean.
that,
Like
but
you know
exactly.
that like psychologically there's not going to be an
Right.
issue. They've done this before.
Right. I mean, that does mean something.
That means something for sure.
Because it's a very emotional connection.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, so like what did it for my wife is the woman we ended up choosing. When you're looking through these profiles, there's like family photos, there's a whole like questionnaire, whatever. And our surrogate's family photos, she has 3 kids of her own, and they were all wearing matching outfits. And my wife was like, that woman has her shit together.
I love it.
Yeah. So that was the
That was
deal
it.
sealer for her was like, I trust this woman. Her kids look nice and matching and like put together. We like that she had like some of these are single women, and we like that she had a family and supportive husband. So she's not going to be missing a doctor's visit or something because she can't find childcare or whatever it is. And she just seemed like nice and sweet and like had done it before. And this is going to be her last pregnancy. You're only allowed to do 5.
Yeah, that's a lot.
She has 3 kids of her own, and she did it once before. So this is it. So we're the swan song, and it's been, thank God, like smooth sailing. She's been lovely, baby's healthy, and we're on the way.
Although my grandmother had 10 and I think 2 miscarriages. So
Oh my God.
that uterus can keep going, baby.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. Back in the day.
That is crazy.
Old school Catholics.
So you have like 100 million cousins?
I have 27 first cousins.
Wow.
I can't even tell you how many second cousins. My mom is one of 10. Yeah, enormous family
Wow.
growing up with. It was awesome.
I mean,
But
yeah,
I
that's
don't know how they-
incredible. I thought my
truly-
family was big, but that's insane.
I don't know how they did it. I have no idea. And my aunts and uncles have managed to stay out of jail. I mean, a few of them drink too much, but
You expect at least one of them's going to end up a deadbeat. That's amazing.
They've actually done well for themselves. So yeah, it was amazing. So, you can keep going, but 5 seems, my grandparents always said if they had it to do over again, they would have been on birth control, but different
I'm
era.
one of 5, which is pretty big for these days.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, your parents have been through it.
They were, and with plus a miscarriage, so 6 pregnancies for my
they've
mom.
been through that. When is your third due?
End of May.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Closing in. Thank you.
So final question for you. I mean, you're really open about stuff. Has that just been your family? Like, this is what I like about Jewish families. A lot of times too, they're like Catholic family. They're just so open. They talk about everything.
Yes and no. I would say my wife's family. My wife converted. Her family's Italian American Catholic.
Okay.
They're very open. I mean, I'd say maybe even more so than mine. I don't know that it's necessarily my family thing, more so than it is. I like it. I don't know. I like being real. I like going deep with people. I like being authentic. I just don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I guess it's, people are afraid of what the reaction will be or what people will think of them. And I guess I've just reached the point in my life where I'm confident in who I am. And if, that's an issue for you, that's your issue. That's not my issue. And
it comes with age, don't you think? But I just get to the point I don't give a fuck. Because people and with Catholics, they're very like old school. Some of them about using an egg donor. They feel like you are kind of playing with, same thing with surrogates and all that. You're sort of messing with, but I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's your life. I mean, it's your family. You want to have a family.
Exactly. And
you do what you got to do.
If you want a child, you have to make that happen, whether it's through adoption, through surrogacy, because if you don't, you'll always, always
nothing
what
else
if
matters.
for who
It's
else?
like,
Exactly.
if you want to have a family, you find a way to have your family.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have to do.
Yeah. Jonah Platt, what a treat. Nice to meet
Thank
you.
you. So great to be here.
Connecting you with my husband because he's a survivor.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he can tell, like you, I'm sure, a historian of the show and the gameplay. And
you can tell I got to go to one of the live finale tapings once. That was pretty cool.
oh my God,
I bet he would freak out.
He would lose his shit. Oh my God, loves Jeff Probst. Probst has a podcast. Oh my God, he loves all that. But everyone needs to listen. You put out weekly episodes, Being Jewish with Jonah Platt, very educational. I love you. You're good at doing a 30-minute episode, just enough to digest and learn a few things.
Yeah, and hear some people that you know and respect. You go deep.
Get that trainer. Now find out if your trainer wants to do a tell-all on Baldoni's push-up technique.
When you said tell-all, I was like, no, but then push-up technique, I'm like, okay, maybe that he'll talk about.
Let's just talk about Baldoni's body. That's hot. He doesn't have to come on and reveal anything. Just what is Baldoni doing for a workout? Seems like
I haven't watched him, but I'll tell you, like, what works so well, why my trainer's so good, why everybody like flocks to him, is he's no bullshit. Like, there's none of these like fancy new age, like there's no kettlebell swings and like
you're doing a lot of the hard. You're doing the push-ups
it's like
with your
Arnold
own body.
Schwarzenegger workout from like the 90s or whatever. I mean, it's like it's very straightforward, and he's just like this like kind of bitchy Italian man who like holds you accountable and like makes you feel guilty if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And so everybody does what they're supposed to do, and he's got a heart of gold. He's great.
Love it. Jonah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.